We have here an exemplary event of what the ancient Hebrews called Shalshelet HaKabbalah, and the Latins called Translatio Scientiae, the transition of knowledge, of art, from generation to generation, from the leading literary figure of the previous generation to the leading figure of our own days.
Today, we have the greatest privilege of all to connect the names of Shai Agnon and Amos Oz. May I use Hebrew in one of our greatest prayers, wishes from the Bible. Adonai oz le'amo iten, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. We got the courage, we got the oz, with God's help, we got the peace.
The scroll says, "We hereby proclaim the inauguration of the Shmuel Yosef Agnon Chair in Contemporary Hebrew Literature, endowed through the generosity of Ben-Gurion University's associates in Germany. May this chair illuminate the miracle of modern Hebrew literature reborn in its ancient homeland, and may the research conducted under these auspices guide generations of Israeli students through the language's richness and complexity. May this chair bring pride to its benefactors and honor to Ben-Gurion University in its mission to serve the Negev, the state of Israel, the Jewish people, and all mankind."
Amos Oz, he's a poet, and that means he expresses himself in such a manner that we feel expressed ourselves too. He gives us, so to speak, mood and taste of our own and essential being. Only poets, these peculiar talents, are capable of doing so. Talents like Agnon, Oz, Lenz. At the same time, they give to us, while representing the archetypes, the primary motives of human experience. For example, mood, presentiment, the idea of not identical, of a fascinating transcendence, by obvious examples of a different life in a different country, captivating elsewhere. In this way, love comes into being. In this way, and thanks to Amos Oz, we have become aware of the life in the reality of the Alt Neuland, of the Jewish being as a matter of existence in the state of Israel, of the struggle for identity and authenticity between biblical tradition and spirit, of pioneering. Israel has become to us a subject of widened and deepened experience in the ways of the world.
אנו מכריזים על כינונה של הקתדרה לספרות עברית חדשה על שם שי עגנון, תרומת שוחרי האוניברסיטה בגרמניה, בראשותו של המופקד עליה פרופסור עמוס עוז. מי ייתן וקתדרה זו תביא לקידום הידע והמדע וליישומם בצד שגשוג אוניברסיטת בן-גוריון בנגב כמוסד אקדמי מן המדרגה הראשונה. מי ייתן וקתדרה זו על המחקר המתבצע במסגרתה תסייע לאוניברסיטה במשימתה הלאומית הנכבדת, פיתוחו של הנגב, חבל המדבר הנרחב של מדינת ישראל.
For me, it's really a great day that a group of people contribute money in order to do something more in this university, something more in order that it will be a better university, something more in order to help this university to absorb more students and to give more knowledge to those who are coming here. And of course, especially for me, it's a great day because Amos Oz is going to he is going to be the holder of this chair because we both are from the same town. The only difference that I believe that Amos Oz has still the chance to be a finance minister. I will never be an author. That's
I'm honored to invite now Professor Amos Oz, the writer, the colleague, the friend, to deliver his lecture on the eyes of the Lord, Hebrew literature, the spirit, and the letter. Amos, please.
Shmuel Yosef Agnon was the greatest Hebrew prose writer of this century. He have taught all of us, readers and writers, so many things that if I wanted to discuss all of what we have all learned from Agnon, I would have to speak for 7 days and 7 nights non-stop, in which case I would probably lose the Agnon chair in Hebrew literature and would not be finance minister either. So I will have to make do by sharing with you just one ironic episode, personal episode, about Agnon. More than 30 years ago, in a wedding ceremony in Jerusalem, the great writer approached the young student that I was, and in a mischievous way pointed out a respectable elderly Jerusalem professor, no names, no clues. And Agnon said, "Young man, do you know who this gentleman is?" He won't let me answer. He answered his own question. He said, "This is a distinguished full professor." And before this gentleman was a distinguished full professor, he was a distinguished associate professor. And before he was a distinguished associate professor, he probably was a distinguished lecturer. And before he was a distinguished lecturer, you know, Agnon had epic breadth. Before he was a distinguished lecturer, he was a distinguished postgraduate student. And before that, he must have been a distinguished student. And before that, maybe he was a mensch. Which means a human being. Now, today, as you are turning me into an Agnon professor of Hebrew literature, I promise to try to remember this particular piece of Agnon wisdom. Always remember which in Agnon's vocabulary is the highest possible title, a human being, a mensch. My dear friends, the non-literary, the human bottom line of all of this, to this person standing before you, the nutshell conclusion in my humble view is the following simple lesson. In a merciless universe, we human beings must use every ounce of imagination, compassion, and common sense in order to deserve Agnon's own highest title, a mensch, a human being. For these 3 resources, common sense, imagination, and compassion, are all we have. They are all that stands between ourselves and the endless suffering we sometimes inflict on one another. I wish to thank the Ben-Gurion University, the German friends of the Ben-Gurion University, in particularly you, dear Dr. Deichmann, for creating this chair and for entrusting a storyteller, not a scholar, a storyteller like myself, with the heavy academic responsibility of making Agnon and other writers travel into as many hearts as possible. Thank all of you. Toda rabah.
Thank you. The ceremony is over.